round 27. Okay, to begin with, there's a hint: do not skip the first hidden stitch after the corners. Okay, so we are going to begin with a standing double crochet in any chain 2 corner space. Okay, and then in the same corner space we are going to bead stitch, chain 2, bead stitch. Okay, so it actually makes our corners slightly asymmetric because we've got 3 stitches on one side and only 2 on the other. Okay, so bead stitch, yarn over and make a double crochet as normal. Okay, and then yarn over, and you're going to come around. Let me just move that over a little bit so it's easier to see. Yarn over, around the post, pull up a loop and come up so that your hook sits easily on the top of the stitch. Okay, and you're going to do that 3 times. So that was 1. So it's a little bit like making a puff stitch around the post if you haven't done this before. Okay, so 1, yarn over, around, pull up a loop, twice, and 3 times. Okay, so the hook needs to sit on top of the post, not here, okay, but back, so that you are pulling these lengths of yarn up. Okay, yarn over, pinch and pull through all of those loops. Okay, but just gently and loosely. Don't keep your yarn tight while you're doing this. Okay, so just relax your tension. If you try to work with too much tension, you will spoil the shape of your bead stitches and they'll end up like a funny little lump at the top. Okay, so then we're going to chain 2. So again, don't pull this tight. So if you need to, just pinch the yarn at the bottom there, come through 1 and 2, okay, so that you've got a long loop here that keeps this square instead of doing that. Okay, and then we're going to make another bead stitch. So it's double crochet first and then yarn over, around the post, pull up a loop, yarn over, around the post, pull up a loop. Oops, just split that. Do that one again. Okay, that's the second time, and the third time yarn over and pull up. Okay, but leaving it so that this moves really freely. Okay, so each corner is a double crochet, bead stitch, chain 2, bead stitch. You are then, your repeat is to double crochet in the next stitch, bead stitch in the next stitch, and then skip a stitch. Okay, so make sure you go right into this first stitch, okay, because remember the hint was don't skip the first stitch after any of the corners. So double crochet and then bead stitch, which is a double crochet and then yarn over and around the post 3 times through all the loops. skip the next stitch because a bead stitch actually counts as 2 stitches. Okay, so there's the double crochet I've just made, that one. There's that double crochet there. So you can see you've got 2 sets of top loops that make up the bead stitch. So that's why we need to remember to skip a stitch there. Okay, so double crochet, bead stitch, skip a stitch, etc. And you're going to do that 20 times. Okay, so I'm going to carry on all the way to the end and come back to you. Okay, so once you've come all the way along, you've done 20 repeats. That will bring you here, and you've got 1 skipped stitch at the end there. And then remember, your corners are double crochet, bead stitch, chain 2, bead stitch. Okay, and then all the way around, and once you come back to the beginning, join to your standing double crochet, fasten off and secure your ends. Round 28. Okay, we've got a hint. Ensure all front post treble are worked below the 3rd loop, and remember, bead stitches are made up of 2 stitches. Okay, so let us join with a standing double crochet in any chain 2 corner space. Okay, so again, remember that you've got quite a long 3rd loop there, so make sure that you're in the chain space and not in that loop. Okay, so a standing double crochet, and we're then going to double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the same space. Okay, so each of our corners is made up of 2 double crochet, chain 2 and 2 double crochet. You'll probably notice quite a lot that I tend to keep my stitch markers and make the corner, because it makes sure that you're absolutely in the chain 2 space and that you don't get caught up in the first stitch at all. Okay. Now we're going to start our repeat. We're going to double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Okay, so let me zoom in a bit. Okay, so there's our double crochet, and that's the top loops to that. So those, get the hook out of the way, those 2 top loops there and there are from our bead stitch. Okay, so double crochet in each of those, and then we're going to make a front post treble around the next stitch. So that's our double crochet, but look how low the 3rd loop is. Okay, so this is why the hint tells us to come below that 3rd loop. So come right down towards the bottom to make your front post treble. Okay, it will sort of slide back up the stitch, but as I say, make sure you are below that 3rd loop. Okay, so that is, let me zoom out, otherwise I'll lose place. Okay, so that's our repeat. Double crochet in the next 2 stitches, so that's the 2 of each bead stitch, and then front post treble around the next stitch, making sure you're below that third loop. Okay, and you're going to do that 21 times. Okay, and once you come to the end, so your last front post treble will come around the last double crochet, and then 2 double crochet in the last bead stitch. Okay, so each corner 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, and then the repeat is double crochet in the next 2 stitches, so that's your bead stitch, front post treble around the next stitch, which is your double crochet. Okay, go ahead and do that all the way around, so 4 times, and join to your standing double crochet, fasten off and secure your ends. Round 29, and we've got a hint before we start to keep your chains the same size as the top loops of your stitches. Okay, if you make your chains too tight, it will cause your work to pull in. If you make them too loose, it will make everything sloppy and baggy. Okay, so I would say relax as you're making your chains and just keep checking that they're the same size as your normal stitches. Okay, we're going to join with a standing single crochet in any corner space, chain 2. I'm going to move the marker up because particularly with single crochets it's always easier to put your marker into the chain before you make the next single crochet to make sure that you're right in the middle of that chain. Okay, then we're going to start our repeat. Chain 3. Skip the next stitch. Okay, and then our repeat is front post treble around the next stitch. Chain 3. Skip the next 2 stitches, whoops, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 3, skip 2, front post treble around the next stitch. Okay, so as you're working along, 2, 3, you'll notice that each time you're skipping the 2 double crochets made into the bead stitch, and you're making either the single crochet or a front post treble. Sorry. Okay, so each time you're making either the single crochet or the front post double in or around the front post trebles in or around the front post trebles, and you are skipping the 2 double crochet that are made into the bead stitches each time. Okay, so you're going to do the repeat of front post treble, chain 3, skip 2, single crochet, chain 3, skip 2. You're going to do that 11 times. Okay, I'll catch up with you once I've done that. Okay, so our 11th repeat ends with a single crochet made into that last front post treble. We've also done the chain 3, so we're going to skip those next 2 stitches and then make a final front post treble around that next stitch. Okay, and you've got 1 stitch left before the corner. So you're going to chain 3, skip that next stitch, and then your corners are single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Okay, so you've got just one skipped stitch before and after the corner, and the front post treble, the first one, is made around the second stitch and the stitch before last. Okay, so you've got 2 stitches skipped each time here, but only 1 before and after your corners. Okay, so carry on, go all the way round, and when you get back to the beginning, you're going to make a front post treble here, chain 3, and join to that standing single crochet, fasten off and secure your ends. Okay, again, use the pattern to double check your stitch counts, make sure everything is correct. And also, if you're learning how to read patterns, then again, using the pattern all the time as you're also using the videos will help you to learn to read patterns more quickly. Round 30. Okay, we've got a hint to make all puff stitches to the height of a double crochet, and working a puff stitch into the V of a single crochet prevents stretching. You can absolutely work puff stitches into the single crochets as normal if you prefer to, or you can do it the way I like to. Let me show you. Okay, so we're going to join with a standing single crochet in the last front post treble of any side, and we're then going to chain 2. Sorry, someone's a noisy drinker. And we're then going to puff stitch into the V of this next single crochet. Okay, so for our puff stitch we're going to yarn over, and instead of just going under the top 2 loops, we're just going to push through the V so that we've got 2 loops on either side of the hook, and the hook is underneath the 3rd loop at the back as well. Okay, so pull up to the height of a double crochet, and we're going to do that 4 times. So there was 1, this is 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and close your puff stitch with a chain 1. Okay, chain 1, puff stitch in the chain 2 corner space. Okay, remember, bring it up to the height of a double crochet. So as you pull up, just let go of your tension, and that will allow you to lift up and then apply your tension again. Okay, remember, chain 1 to close, and then chain 1 for the pattern. So we now have a corner puff stitch. That's the top loops of the puff stitch, and that is a closing chain 1, which is where I'm going to pop my marker. Okay. Right, so our repeat is puff stitch into the chain 1, into into the V of the single crochet. It's 3 times and 4 times, chain 1 to close. Okay, chain 2 and single crochet in the next front post treble, chain 2. Okay, we're going to do that 12 times, and when you get to the other end of each side, you will have one more puff stitch to make in that last 1, 2, 3 and 4 in that last single crochet. Okay, so it's always a chain 1 to close and then chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, and 4, close with a chain 1. Okay, so you can see by making the puff stitches into the V, that's not going to stretch that at all. You know, even if I pull up on it, it doesn't stretch it and lift it up, so you get this nasty baggy bit. And I think it looks quite cool the way that V sits underneath the puff stitch. Okie dokie. So puff stitch into the V, chain 2, single crochet into the front post treble, chain 2, etc, etc, all the way round. Your corners, you've got a puff stitch in the last stitch and the first stitch of each side. There's just a chain 1 in between them, and then a puff stitch in your chain 2 corner space. Okay, so all the way around, and join to your standing single crochet, fasten off and secure your ends. Again, use your pattern to check your stitch counts. Round 31. Okay, we've got hint again. To keep chains the same size as the top loops of normal stitches over the next 2 rounds, and also your work will curl, which means it will roll up slightly. Okay, so we're going to join with a standing front post double around the last puff stitch of any side. Okay, so not the corner one, oops, not the corner one, the one before. So come all the way around and make a front post double crochet so that it sits around the puff stitch, and we're then going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, keeping them nice and even and the same size as your normal stitches. Okay, we're going to front post double crochet around the corner puff stitch, and I'm going to suggest mark that stitch. That's your corner stitch, and we're going to chain 3. Okay, then we've got a repeat that we're going to do. We are going to front post double around the puff stitch, chain 2, and we're then going to front post double around the single crochet. Okay, normally single crochets are really difficult to make front or back post stitches round, but because you've got chain spaces each side, it's really easy. Okay, chain 2, front post double around your puff stitch, chain 2, etc, etc. Okay, so you're going to repeat that front post double around the puff stitch, chain 2, front post double around the single, chain 2. You're going to repeat that 12 times, and then when you come round to the end you'll have made a front post double here and chain 2, so you're going to join to that front post double there. Okay, I'm going to go along to the side just to show you another corner, okay, just so that we're absolutely sure on what we're doing. Okay, so that's our 12 repeats. We've got a front post double around the single, chain 2. We're then going to make a front post double around that last puff stitch and then chain 3. Okay, so it's front post double around the corner, 1, 2, 3, and then front post double around the next stitch. So just hold on, mark that one. So just so that you can see, oops, your corners are a chain 3 front post double, chain 3. All the rest are chain 2s as you work all the way along. Okay, so all the way round and join to your standing front post double with a slip stitch, okay, because we're going to carry on the next round in this same colour. Round 32, we're going to chain 1 and we are going to single crochet in the same stitch. Okay, so when you're right-handed, remember the stitch that you're working into is going to be just after slip stitch. If you're left-handed, then just mirror that. Okay, single crochet. And then chain 3. In the corner, front post double, we're going to single crochet, chain 2 and single crochet. So move my marker up into the chain 2 and then that's it, another single. Okay, so each of your corners, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Okay, let's get some yarn. There we go. Chain 3. Okay, and now very simple repeat. We're going to single crochet in the next stitch, chain 2 24 times. Okay, so just single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2. 24 times. I'll catch up with you when I've done that. Okay, so 24 times leaves us with a chain 2. We're then going to single crochet in the next stitch, oops, and then chain 3. Okay, so either side of your corner is a chain 3. In the actual corner, single crochet, chain 2 and single crochet, and then it's chain 3, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 2. Okay, so as we look at our corner, we've got a chain 3 sitting above the chain 3 here and here. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the corner stitch, and then all the rest are single crochet into the stitch, chain 2 above, chain 2. Okay, so go ahead and do that all the way round, and then when you come back to the beginning, join to that first single crochet, fasten off and secure your ends. So obviously you'll have single crochet here, chain 2, and then join and fasten off here. Although it says in the pattern to secure the ends, let's just have a quickie looky see at the back here. Here we go. Where we did the first row with all the chains, you can see I haven't worked my ends away yet. The best place to work those away is either to wait until you've done round 33, which is all double crochets, etc. You can come up the back of these stitches and work away underneath those stitches, or bring it down and work away under these. I always prefer to go up and work away, but trying to work away along, work down your tail ends in along chains and everything just makes the chains look too bulky. They don't look right. So wait and work underneath this next row on top here. Okay, round 33, and we're going to join with a standing double crochet in the last stitch of any side. So that's the first single crochet that you made into the corner stitch. Okay, so double crochet in there. Okay, then in the chain 2 corner, so each of our corners, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 and 2. Okay, we're then going to double crochet in the next stitch, so first single crochet there, and we are going to make 3 double crochet in the chain 3 space. Okay, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and then we start our repeat. We're going to make a front post double treble around the next stitch of round 31. Okay, so that's our front post double that we're going to be working around. So we're going to work in front of this single crochet and around here. Okay, so double treble is yarn over 1, 2, 3 times around the post, and then through 2, 1, 2, 3 and 4 times. Okay, 2 double crochet in the next chain 2 space. Okay, we're going to do that 24 times. So yarn over 1, 2, 3 around the front post double, 2, 3, 4 times, 2 double crochet in the next chain 2 space. Okay, you're going to do that 24 times. I will catch up with you when I've done that. Okay, so 24 times for the repeat brings us to here. So what does the pattern tell us to do next? Front post double treble around the next stitch of round 31. and then 3 double crochet in the chain 3 space, and double crochet in the next stitch, which is that last single crochet again. Okay, so there we go. So each corner 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, then it's 3 double crochet in the chain 3 space at the beginning and at the end. Oh, sorry, missed out the double crochet in the next stitch. So each of those stitches has a double crochet in, and then it's front post double treble around the front post double. Now if it all seems to be a bit squashed and you sort of think, oh, I could get away with making a treble, once this is actually got more weight to it, you've done a few more rounds, it's going to stretch up and open up like that. So you need that full length of the double front post double treble. Okay, if you go shorter, it's going to pull this in and make your edge all wiggly woggly. Okay, so go ahead and do that 4 times. Join to your standing double crochet, fasten off and secure your ends. And actually this is a good point now to work away, well, there aren't any on that one, all these other ends. Okay, once you've finished this round, double check that your stitch count is absolutely correct and then work away all the ends from this sort of chain section piece. Okay, round 34. We're going to join with a standing front post treble around the last stitch of any side. Okie dokie. So there's our last stitch, and we are going to front post treble around, oops, there. Okay. In the chain 2 corner space, we're going to bead stitch, chain 2, bead stitch. Okay, so remember, a bead stitch, make a double crochet first, yarn over, and you're going to go as if you're making a puff stitch, so around the post, pull up a loop and lift so that your hook sits on top of the post of the stitch. So 1, 2 and 3 times, yarn over, pull through, and you're then going to chain 2, but remember to leave a nice long loop here. Okay, it's 2, and then bead stitch again, so double crochet, and then 1, 2 and 3, and pull through. Okay, then we've got, let's move my marker first so we can see what we are doing. Okay, remember, don't pull this tightly, leave it relaxed through the bead stitch. Okay, otherwise you'll end up squishing them all up, and instead of them sitting nice and square like this, they all get scrunched up. Okay, so front post treble around the next stitch. Okay, so that's our first double crochet, bead stitch in the next stitch. Okay, 1, 2 and 3. Skip the next stitch. Okay, front post, so skip this next one, front post treble, bead stitch. Okay, so as you work across, your front post trebles will fall around your front post double trebles, and your bead stitches will fall in the 2 double crochet in between. Okay, so that will be bead stitch, skip, front post treble, bead stitch, skip, front post treble. Okay, you're going to do that 28 times as you work across, and then once you come up to this end, you've got front post treble, bead stitch, front post treble, bead stitch, and then there will be, because that's the one you're going to skip, so there'll be a front post treble around that last stitch. Okay, so corners, bead stitch, chain 2, bead stitch, and then it's front post treble round the next, bead stitch, skip a stitch. Okay, so you're working in sets of 3 all the way across until you get to this last stitch where you're going to make an extra front post treble. Okay, so again, work all the way round, join to your standing front post treble, fasten off and secure your ends. Double check your stitch counts. Okay, if you are off anywhere, then it's likely to be at either end if you didn't check your stitch count for the previous round. Okay, round 35, and we've got a hint that reminds us that each bead stitch is made up of 2 stitches. Okay, so that's the top loops for our front post treble, and then we've got 2 for the bead stitch. Okay, so we're going to join with a standing double crochet in the last stitch of any side. Okay, so that is our bead stitch. Hang on, let's come up close. That's our bead stitch there. So that is the second set of top loops for the bead stitch. So the last stitch of the side. Okay. If you find it difficult to find, you've got your front post treble, then 1, 2. Okay. In the corner we are going to 2 double crochet, chain 2 and 2 double crochet. Okay, so each corner is 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Now we're going to double crochet in the next 89 stitches, and again let me zoom in a bit more. There we go. Okay, so that's our front post treble, and then we've got 2 stitches, 1, 2 for our bead stitch, so that is our first stitch. Okay, so make sure you don't skip that one. Okay, so 2 for every bead stitch, 1 in the front post treble, okay, 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, so 89 stitches across, which with the 4 for each corner will give you a total of 93 double crochet per side. Okay, so sometimes it's the simple rounds like this that can trip you up, so just take it carefully across and make sure that, for instance, when you get to that first front post treble, you've got 4 stitches already, 2 in the corner, 2 for the bead stitch. Okay, all 4 sides, and then when you come round, join to your standing double crochet with a slip stitch. Round 36, this is the last round of part 2. Okay, so we're going to chain 3, that counts as a double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Okay, so when you come all the way round and you're finishing that last side, you're going to omit those last 3 double crochet. Okay, so another really nice simple one, each corner 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, 2 and 1, 2. Sorry if you can hear Jay snoring in the background. He's fast asleep in his lovely new bed that he really, really loves. Okay, so each corner 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, and then it's double crochet in the next 93 stitches. So again, make sure that you don't skip that first stitch. And this is one of the reasons that I tend to leave my stitch marker and work to the side of it, because it actually tends to push those stitches over so that you can see that stitch more easily, rather than, you know, if you make the stitches, it's easy to cover and hide that one. Okay, so another little handy Helen hint. Okay, so double crochet in 93 stitches, so your stitch count per side is going to be 97 double crochet plus your chain 2 corner space. So double and triple check that your stitch count is correct, because it will make starting part 3 much easier. Okay, so all the way round, join to the top of your chain 3, fasten off, secure your ends, work all of your ends away. You will find, let me zoom out if I can. Okay, you will find that everything lays sort of nice and flat and square, so it's really easy to take a photograph to share with everyone. There's no need to block anything until you're done. Okay, so yeah, nice clean, clear, unpatterned, plain backgrounds for photographs always really shows everything off well. Okay, and I will see you all next time.